Today, we are going to go over what handhelds that I've bought over the years or have been sent to me, things that I've made videos on. Which ones do I actually still use, and which ones have collected dust on the shelf? I really just thought of that line because I don't really script these videos, but unfortunately, I just dusted off literally all of them. So I should have left the dust on to show you just how little I use them. But starting off with probably the oldest thing of these devices, the Analog Pocket. I think this is the oldest of the devices I'm going to talk about today. And before we dive into the Analog Pocket, I do want to say I'm not talking about all of my Game Boys, my Switch. I'm talking about handhelds that are not from any of the big companies, excluding one that I guess has an asterisk on it. We'll get there. Nothing from Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox doesn't really have a handheld. So we're just talking mostly about handheld emulators, which this is an emulator. It's just hardware emulation, not software emulation. That is what FPGA is. Anyways, I guess you can probably do a lot of things with FPGA, but I just want to make that clear. Hardware emulation is pretty darn cool. I like playing on the Analog Pocket. Sue me. I don't like Analog as a company. Sorry. They just have crappy business practices. I don't care for the way that they make their sales and their limited edition stuff. And just make it readily available, man. You can do that now. I know they can. But this is a very premium product. It has a premium price. And it's a really solid device. It's just unfortunate that Analog is the one that makes them. But I like it. Do I really need to explain what each of these devices do? It's got a lot of different consoles on there that have cores on it, not officially supported by Analog, but you can play a ton of different consoles on here. Pretty low power console. Like, you're not playing N64, you're playing like SNES and GBA is like the most powerful things you're running. But it's still nice to be able to play all the main like early Nintendo consoles on here. And I can slap in a Game Boy game or a Game Boy Advance game, or if I had any of the adapters, any of those in there. It's got a link port, USB-C for charging. It has amazing battery life. Again, low power consoles, but with sleep mode and an SD card full of games and the ability to use real cartridges, and it's got USB-C charging with a lot of battery life. It's just amazing. And the screen is beautiful too. It's off right now. It might not have a charge either, but I actually really like the Analog Pocket. I just don't like Analog. And yeah, I actually use this one maybe the most out of all of the consoles we're going to talk about today. And honestly, might be my most played Game Boy device. Even though I've got a ton of actual Game Boy hardware, I do come back to this just because it's the most convenient sometimes. Not all the time, but if I want to sit down and play through like Super Mario Land, like actually play through a game, I usually pick up a Game Boy Color or a Game Boy Advance. I don't use this for anything other than like pick up randomly games like Tetris and stuff. But even then, I have Tetris in like 5 different Game Boys at any given moment. So this is mostly I don't know what I want to play, so I'm just going to grab this because it has a lot of games on it. And then I end up usually not playing it at all. I bring this with me to a lot of places and never even hit the power button. So yeah, it's a decent little device, and I actually do play it quite often compared to the rest of these that we're going to talk about. This is not the next oldest. This might be the next oldest. I don't know what to call this other than an NES handheld. It is not a real NES. It is NES on a chip, I think is what they call it. It is oddly like AAA powered. Yeah, 4 AAA batteries. I'm not going to lift the tab. It's a little stubborn. It's got A and B turbo buttons as well as A and B. It's got start and select, D-pad, everything you need for a not a Super Nintendo, an NES. It's got AV out, which is kind of cool. And it has a DC power jack if you want to play off the wall power instead of this power. But if I remember correctly, I think you still need batteries anyway. Could be wrong though. And yes, it plays NES cartridges. Don't have power in it again, but I have a whole video on it on the main channel if you want to check it out. I'll try to remember to link it. People in the comments ended up saying would be a great way to like check NES games out at conventions to make sure that they actually work before you buy it, which, yeah, that would be cool. I don't play this. I have not picked this up since I made the video. It's a cool little thing, but it's not the best way to play NES games in this current year, but it's still a cool little thing. I do not play it. Another video that I made an entire main channel video about. This is the Powkiddy X55. Genuinely had to look at the back to see what it was because I do not remember much about this other than it was okay. Didn't care for it. I thought it was going to be more powerful than it was. It's slightly comfortable, but this is more for like D-pad games, and the D-pad's down here, which is not as comfortable. Yeah, it's not going to play GameCube or PS2. It's going to play like PS1 at max, maybe a little Dreamcast, I think, but I think Dreamcast was very hit and miss. It's got digital triggers, not any analog stuff, but it's got USB-C for charging. It's got a mini or a mini HDMI out, power reset. This is most definitely dead. It still has the SD cards in it. Like I would actually play it, but I don't. It's got a boot SD card and a what? Why do I have a 256 gigabyte SD card in here? Honestly, I should just leave that out. I never play this. This is probably more useful in several different handhelds. It's a good SD card too. Yeah, I'm definitely putting that after this. I never use this ever. I have not picked this up since I made the video. I think I may have turned it on for like B-roll or something since then. I think I may have turned it on to show like a friend or a family member, but I don't care to ever use it again. But I got it for free, I think. I don't think I paid money for this. If I did and I didn't return it, then I am kind of upset with myself. But we'll talk more about returns in a second. Next up is this guy right here, the RG35XXSP. I knew that the string of numbers and letters, I just didn't know what the order was. This is by Ambernic, and it's actually a decent little device. I do recommend people get it. I just put it in my gift guide video on the main channel if you want to check that out. But it is just not for me. Still has the same HDMI port and USB, like oddly similar looking to this, but Powkiddy, Ambernic, not the same company. But it's slightly bigger than SP. I'm not a huge fan of the SP, but it's about as powerful as this thing, but it doesn't have a stick. And like I can see how it's really convenient and really cool for a lot of people, but it's just not for me. I was sent this because everybody went nuts for it. And so everybody who sells this thing wanted it to be in all the hands of every single tech YouTuber and probably a lot of non-tech YouTubers alike. So I was like, sure, you can send it, whatever. And then I made a second channel video on it because I didn't want to make a main channel video about it. And it's good. It's just not for me. It's too small for me. That's why I don't like SPs. They're fine. I do like that it's like clamshell so you can protect your screen and stuff. I think it's cool that it can play some PSP and like everything below that, but it's just not for me. Majority of the time, if I want to play a console that is supported by this, I'm probably going to play it on here or the actual console on original hardware. So it's just not for me. But if you like this kind of console, I'm actually going to put it over here because this is the I don't play this console area. But I don't know. If you like the consoles that this can play and you like the SP, you're going to like this thing. But you shouldn't buy it if you don't need something that plays the stuff. If you already have something that plays all these games, all the 16/32-bit consoles and below, then don't buy this because you don't need two of them. You don't need two things that can play that. Unless the thing that plays those games is a giant handheld like the Steam Deck and you want something smaller. But the last, actually, just kidding. We're going to talk about that last, but I want to hold off and do some honorable mentions. And I guess they're not really honorable mentions as much as these are the handhelds that I bought and reviewed and returned. I bought the RG Cube most recently and the Retroid Pocket 4. Maybe it was the Pro version. I don't know. I bought them on Amazon. I tried them. Both of them I really wanted to keep, but they just weren't right for me. I made videos on the second channel about them, so I'm not going to go too in depth on them. But the Retroid Pocket is basically a no for me because it was too thin and not comfortable enough. Plus, the stick was not up here, it was down here, and the D-pad was up here. I think the D-pad should be up here on this console because it doesn't play many left stick games. But the Retroid Pocket does play a lot of left stick games, and it's down here in the less comfortable position. So that's why I didn't like it. And then I got the RG Cube, and I liked it. But I just wasn't in love with it enough to keep it because of the 1x1 screen. Even though it really didn't bother me that much, it was just a little too small. I thought it was something that I would like and get over, but I didn't. And people were very upset with me in the comments over that for whatever reason. Who gives a crap about my opinion, man? If you like it, good for you. I didn't like it, that's why I returned it. I just wanted to say it in the video. I think it's a good screen, it's just too small for me, and I'd rather have a 4x3 screen. That's all I really meant to say, and that's why I returned it. Plus the stick issue. The sticks were not good on the RG Cube. They were okay, but not up to my standards and not good enough for the money I put into it. But they just announced this thing that I don't know what it's called, and it's exactly what I wanted. They fixed the stick thing apparently, and it's a 4x3 screen, and everything else is the same because everything else I liked about it. So I'm waiting for that to come to Amazon so I can buy it and try it out again. And if I like it, like I'm imagining I will keep it in my search for the perfect smaller device that plays PS2 and GameCube games. That search will be over. And the only reason why I want a device that can do those heavier games, but in a smaller package, is because as much as I love my Steam Deck, it is ginormous. And if I want to bring my Switch on a trip, I can't really bring this because there's just too much space taken up between those two consoles. And I play the crap out of my Switch. Probably my most played handheld. Not on this list because it doesn't really fit the theme of this, in my opinion. But I love my Steam Deck. Next to the Analog Pocket, this is my most played console. You gotta find the right game to play on here. Not every game I want to play on my Steam Deck, but I did play through pretty much all the God of War games that I could on here, and it was perfect for that. I think those older games from that PS2 generation, it doesn't really do original Xbox that well, if I remember correctly. Plus, that's kind of a little more complicated to set up emulation-wise, in my opinion. But anyways, I think it's good for that like 6th generation, even like 5th generation of video games. And then obviously the PC games that you can play on here. Sometimes if it's a really intense game, this might not be the best control scheme for you. But I really, really like this control scheme for a handheld. I talked about that in the main channel video. But yeah, I play the crap out of my Steam Deck. It's just a little too big is all. But I like that it's really big. It's just for travel, it can be tough. But for sitting on the couch, like 99% of the time that I'm going to play this, it's great. And even as I'm recording this video, the day before I leave for Thanksgiving, I really want to bring this with me. But it's just, it takes up too much space in my bag. And I don't really want to bring a second bag or keep this in its carrying case outside of my bag. So this will probably stay home, unfortunately. I've been playing Bayonetta on here. I guess I could just play Bayonetta on the Switch, but then I can't transfer my progress. Man, why did I start it on the Steam Deck? Because I didn't have it for the Switch yet when I started playing it, and then I stopped playing it anyways. But yeah, that is all the handhelds that I can think of that I've bought over the years to review, and that is how often I actually play them. Don't really play these three. Probably never will play these three again. I play these two, and the others I've returned. Focus, man. Come on, we're ending the video. I'm just gonna take the Steam Deck away. Will you focus now? No, it does not want to focus anymore. This is the reason why I have this cutting board down here, so it can focus better. But right now, it does not want to do that because the black table, it just would not want to focus the first couple of times I tried recording for the second channel. And I didn't want to always use my mod mat because it's really gross all the time. So that's why I have this cutting board. I just happened to get it for free in a trivia game right around the time I started this channel. So That's why I have it. But anyways, I've lost my train of thought. Let's just end the video now.